It is a beautiful, beautiful day here across the pond in the UK. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Silverstone, a racetrack steeped with decades upon decades upon decades of racing history. So many Formula One races have been run here. So many endurance races have been run here. This is one of those racetracks that everybody wants to win at. There's just something about this place that offers a level of prestige. And with the Beer League having their first ever race here this afternoon, you know we're in for a fun ride this afternoon. My name is Little Ramble alongside Austin Edstrom. We are bringing you all the racing action from start to finish on Wednesday afternoons. Austin, Silverstone, right? It's a track that so many are well familiar with, and it should be an awesome race this afternoon.
Oh, absolutely. Silverstone, one of the most notable circuits in the entire world, right? Everybody knows what Silverstone is, what this racetrack is about. Now, I didn't have it purchased, but I definitely knew about it. I've watched a good handful of F1 races here, and I can tell you that this place is majestic. And I think that the Beer League, while maybe not majestic, I think there's a couple other adjectives we could throw in there to throw around for the Beer League that would match pretty well with Silverstone, and I think we're going to see a lot of chaos. I think that word's going to line up a lot between the car and the track tonight.
We're, of course, going to take a rundown of your current championship standings, entered racing action here this afternoon. And when you work into things, Tyler Augustina right now on point, but only by 9, and then just 10 points back is Alex Copper. Look at Eric Ronenberg jumping up 16 spots in the point standings with a good finish last week. But, of course, it's still the early game, and lots can change.
Yeah, still a long ways to go, obviously, in the Beer League Championship. Just a couple weeks into this thing, and obviously factoring in the drop week that we have, Tyler Augustino up in the lead, and the beer numbers are not too high up there just yet. These guys not taking too many per race, it looks like. Only a handful up on the boards. Not too many bonus points to go around just yet, but like you said, so far it's anybody's game up at the top of the standings. A lot of guys within the shouting distance of the race leader, or championship leader.
And, of course, the team's championship is still tight as ever as well. But, again, still early, so still a lot of things that could change. But for the time being, Misfits jumping from bottom to the top. Now, of course, those are the drivers that are, well, without a team. And you had a packed grid last week at Zolder, so no surprise there. In terms of the real teams, though, Serial Team 6 right now on top, but only by 1 over Babs Bug Boys.
Yeah, Serial Team 6 only with a 1-point advantage over Babs there for the second place. And like I said earlier, the Beers not getting too high up there, but a couple of these teams already getting into the 30s. Serial Team 6, Babs Bub Boys, Scoville Squad. A couple of these guys already getting up there. Misfits doing it without the Beers. They're just that fast. So that's mightily impressive for Misfits up at the top.
And so far, less than 2 kegs of beer consumed over the course of the season. But, of course, there is still going to be a long way to go to fill up those kegs and get a whole tavern's worth. And I have a feeling we're going to be doing quite a bit of that over here across the pond here in the UK. But for now, qualifying is currently underway from the Silverstone circuit with several drivers out and about looking to put down lap times. It's an extremely fast and an extremely flowing circuit, and boy, it is not a track you're going to want to underestimate. We'll ride on board with Chris Hannigan when he comes down to the start-finish line to take you for a lap. And Austin, I'll let you take us to the Grand Tour because, boy, this track is ever a wild one.
Oh, you're going to let me do the honors? How sweet. How kind of you. But yeah, Chris Hannigan getting on board. Hannigan, man, he had a heck of a week last week, didn't he? I mean, it was time after time again. I felt like he was having an issue, but to be fair, that was most of the field. Coming across the start-finish line, though, and down into turn 1, long sweeping right-hander, or I say long, pretty quick sweeping right-hander, I should say, and then back into another pretty quick left-handed kink into a pretty heavy braking zone. That turns into a very weird double left-hander right after. You got to get this corner pretty right. Don't use all the racetrack like you saw Clayton do up there in the number 9 because it puts you off for that corner right there, which lets you get a good run out onto this straightaway. I said a double left. It's really a left-hander and then a kink there. And the F1 cars, it feels a little bit different, I gotta say. And this little tiny spec racer, not pulling nearly the same speed, not nearly the same size of car. So the track looks just a little bit bigger whenever you're squatted down into one of these things. Coming around Silverstone. Chris putting on a pretty good lap so far, but the problem is he does have Brooks right in front of him. And I do remember seeing in chat last week for the qualifying, these things do give off a huge draft. So you want to be behind somebody in qualifying, but it only takes you so far. If you're stuck behind the same guy in the corner, can't get by him on the straight, you are really asking for a lot. You're just giving up lap time, like Hannigan is right here, all over the back bumper of Clayton. Not able to go anywhere, actually has to breathe the throttle so he can get a better run on exit. He's going to look to the outside as we head into the next set of corners. Maggots and Beckett's up ahead. Hannigan gets the place going in, but again, for a qualifying attempt, you don't want to have to be making passes. It still lost him a little bit of ground. But, crucially for him, he's got up to the car in front of him. He was a good ways behind starting this lap, but still, it's not the best tell. If the guy in front isn't that fast of a driver, well, you're not really gaining all that much. Your lap time's not going to be that great, but Hannigan here just trying to get a banker lap in. Get something that is halfway decent, something that's going to put you in the top half of the standings so that you can go for it. Go for the pole a little bit later. Hannigan coming around, just a couple corners left, a chicane at the end of the lap. Not going to be able to make a pass, not going to be able to get any further up the road, but he does get slowed up a little bit into that final braking zone. And he's not able to get a good run out, so I got to think that the traffic might have hurt Hannigan more than it helped him there. To the line. Chris Hannigan, about, I believe, 8th on the board. So not amazing for Chris because there's only about 20 people that have put a lap time on. But, I mean, like I said, a banker that's about halfway. He's sitting about there right now. So halfway decent lap, but he's got to find a little bit better clean air or somebody better to be behind.
Hannigan being bumped down to the number 9 spot, and so many famed corners at this racetrack. Of course, you have turn 1 at Abbey, a very one-line right-hand kink. You, of course, have the first hard braking zone at Village that leads directly into the loop and Aintree. The Wellington Straight, one of the second longest straights on the racetrack, leads into the Brookfields and Luffield complex. Out through Woodkill. Copse, of course, an ever-dreaded corner. Source of many a controversy, most of it spearing off since 2021, where Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton came together, resulting in a terrifying wreck. One of the most fearsome corners you could possibly go off on. I'd say only matched by the Maggots and Beckett's complex immediately after. The longest straight, the Hangar Straight, so named for the old World War II aircraft hangar that still resides on the property. And then, of course, still one of the fastest, most sweeping corners of the circuit, and then down to the club chicane, and all of this will take you through the lap around Silverstone. It's wild that the Hanger Straight doesn't feel like that long of a straight, and yet it is the longest one at this racetrack. I think that really puts into perspective just how many turns and how sweeping this road course is.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of corners, to say the least. And in a lot of race cars, I'd be a little bit worried, be thinking, oh man, we're not going to have a lot of passing, not a lot's going to happen. But these little spec racers, man, dirty air is not that big of a problem. You got a big slipstream, even down the tiny straightaways, and I mean, heck, the Hanger Straight, it's gonna give some opportunities to some guys tonight to make a move. And I think down into Cops, and then down towards Maggots and Beckett's, because of what happens in Cops, is gonna present so many overtaking opportunities. A lot of guys with overspeed coming out of those corners. A lot of guys fighting a little bit of dirty air, making a mistake, opening the door for somebody else. I just think that this is going to be a race of opportunity. Like I said, at this racetrack, other cars, man, if we were here in the late models, I'd be worried half to death. We would have a pretty boring race that night. But here in the spec racers, it's still going to be fantastic.
And of course, you take a look at where some of these race cars are on the racetrack. Look at how wide this place is. You remember John Combs' extremely brave 4-wide pass? Here, it's possible to go 5 in Spec Racer Fords. That's how wide this place is. But that's only on the straights. A lot of these corners, most cars, even in these things, would not dare. And that can result to what will no doubt be an extremely aggressive sprint race coming on up in about 10 minutes.
You know, I always look forward to the starts of these things, and I think Silverstone a little bit different, right? The beginning of this racetrack, it's not like you brake going into turn 1. It's just a little sweeper, a little kink, and then you've got another little shift of direction to the left before you really get down to the first braking zone. I think it's going to present a lot of opportunity for these guys to kind of jockey for spots. We could see some guys getting 3 wide, kind of be put into bad positions coming down into the first real braking zone of the lap. So I think going into the sprint race, seeing them all 2x2, flying down in there, I don't know. I'm worried about the real turn 1. I guess it's turn 3 here tonight. I really think that on the initial start here, the sprint and the main event, we're going to see some nastiness.
9 minutes to go here in qualifying at the Silverstone circuit for round number 3 of the Beer League. Jeremy Castro working his way across the line, currently sits 18th. Will this lap be of any improvement? Does not appear that it will. He does improve on the time, but not so much on the actual position. So he'll remain still in that number 18 spot. Right now, 33 have put down laps. And there's about 43 that are looking to qualify for this third round of the championship altogether. Kyle Blevins right now, a driver that is up on pole position, and I got to be honest, this is the first time we've seen Kyle Blevins for the Jordy's team up on pole, and I'm pleasantly surprised, right? I mean, this track really looks to be like it is Blevins' racetrack. We haven't really seen him really have too many good performances so far in his Beer League tenure. He could be on for a good show this afternoon. He's got this track dialed in.
Yeah, Kyle, I feel like has been quick places. He's just never put it all together, or hasn't really ran with the big boys up at the very front for a majority of a race. But obviously, early on in qualifying, a 20.63. He's got 0.2 over the next guy. And, well, obviously, it gets a little bit further apart as you go further down. I mean, he's got a whole second on 10th place. So Blevins, he's got some pace. If he continues that, if he can run that lap time consistently or somewhere near it, I mean, he'll absolutely be a problem. The problem for him so far, though, he's ran 4 laps and only 1 has been validated. So it's been a struggle for him, and I see him off the racetrack again right now. So Blevins having a hard time staying on the racetrack, but you only got to lay 1 good lap down in qualifying, so maybe he can back it down just a little bit for the race and still have some good pace in that thing.
Jay Kasich currently sits the number 2 spot, almost a quarter of a second out, and he just ran wide, coming out of Woodco there. And now you can see Alexander Bueller. He is currently running in the number 3 spot with a 2:21.02, and then already got about the top 9, separated by about a second one another. Darren Bye closing out the top 9, and then right behind him is Justin Hall back at the 10th place position. Ben Williams is off the road. having a few little issues. Jacob Noyes currently on his third lap, and he's running down the hanger straight right now. He is tucked up in line with the number 17, who's going to quickly pull it off the racetrack to let Hannigan through. And I do believe that car just went flipping down towards Stowe. That's something that some drivers have been experimenting with, because if you can get that car turned at just the right angle, you can go for a wild tumble down in towards one of the final quarters on the racetrack.
Yeah, and the way that that corner after the hanger straight is angled, I feel like it kind of presents opportunity for that, right? The car kind of gets in a sideways position where if you're hanging that rear end out, you're kind of letting air get on under it. And I know that iRacing has kind of added blowovers the last couple years to different series. Maybe we've got a little bit of that physics in the, or those physics in the Spec Racer here, and maybe the air just catches underneath it a little bit and can let these guys catch some air. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm hopeful. Maybe somebody will do something a little silly tonight through there. I feel like maybe if you step that thing out sideways at the right time, or just get a knock in on the right rear quarter panel by somebody else at the right point of that corner, I think it's just about a guarantee you're going to be going over.
Alex Crawford on his 5th attempt at a lap, coming down this time by. He's, I think, one of the only drivers that could really mount a serious threat to Kyle Blevins, but on his 5th attempt, still no dice for the number 19. He could be in a bit of trouble here. It takes 2 minutes, 20 seconds to get around this place. He's only got 2 chances now to get a hot lap, and if he goes off this racetrack, that will be down to just 1 lap that he'll be able to try to get on the boards. He's running out of time quickly if he wants to challenge for pole.
Yeah, there's not a lot of time left. And Crawford, typically a guy that likes to lay down a really, really good lap, typically on pole just about every single week, right? But he hasn't been able to lay one down yet tonight. I think he's pushing just a little bit too hard, but also we know that he doesn't take the points in the heat race anyway. He starts at the back of the main event. So even if he has to start at the back of the heat race, I don't think it's going to bother him too much. Not necessarily the world ender that it might be to a couple of these other guys, since Crawford's going to be back there anyway.
Working out to the front straightaway. You could call it the front straightaway. This is the front stretch for the shorter national circuit that cuts in and actually cuts off half of the Maggots and Beckett's complex, and it'll rejoin the racetrack at Aintree down the Wellington Straight to make what would then be the longest stretch around this entirety of the racetrack. So, and by the way, that start-finish line grid on the backstretch, that is what used to be the start-finish line for this racetrack up until, I believe, 2011 was the last time that was used in Formula One competition. Then from 2012 onward, that start-finish line was moved to the grid that we know today.
Big fan of the current layout here at Silverstone that we're running tonight. I think it's it puts on a good show more times than not. I think we're going to get a heck of a race tonight. I think we got the right mix of materials. Big, strong 50-car field like typical here in the beer league. And Crawford still coming around here, coming around the final chicane. Going to see if he can finally get a lap time in. He's only going to have one more chance if this one doesn't go across. So patiently waiting to see if Crawford is going to start at the front. Not the very front, but he slots into P3. So a good lap there from Crawford. At least gets himself on the board. So maybe he can really, really push it this lap. See if he can give Kyle Blevins a run for his money. Because what a lap by Blevins if it stands.
Wouldn't that be just a wild lap? And he's bailing out. So Alex Crawford will not challenge for pole this afternoon. Huge, huge upset on this one, as Kyle Blevins looking to take his first ever pole position in his beer league career.
Blevins on a lap right now. Might not even need to finish it up. Still painting that curbing on the inside nicely. Using absolutely all of the racetrack on exit. Blevins doing absolutely everything he can. Like I said, using all of the racetrack. Barely had 2 wheels on that inner curb there. Cutting it as much as possible. Cut as much distance out of the racetrack. Using all of the exit curb. Or I should say entry curbing, I suppose, on the outside of the racetrack. And then all of it on the exit as well. Nice and smooth and steady from Blevins. This could be a lap that challenges his previous best.
I don't think he's going to be able to top his own best lap, but I don't think he needs to top his own best lap. Kyle Smith.
Smooth.
Kyle Smith setting himself up for the final corners. As he looks set to close things out, he currently sits 32nd on the boards. Can he improve? I think a bit too wide out of the final corner and improve. He will not. He did put down a 2:23.77. That'd be enough to put him a couple spots up the grid, but it was an invalidated lap, so he will not be able to get the chance to put one down. Evan Campbell took one lap, and then he bailed to pit road. Here comes Tanner Klein down the backstretch, looking like he's about set to come down to the pits as well. Kyle Blevins, meanwhile, working his way through the final corner. Any improvements with 30 seconds to go? Hops the final curve and kind of pulled it tight to the inside. He will not get the chance. Again, he did improve slightly. He went 2:21, so not able to get any kind of a good time on with that one. Here comes Aaron Thacker, one of the last cars to put down a lap, and he's running out of time to do it.
Can he get around in time? 8 seconds left. I think he's going to get to the line in time.
Just barely.
Cutting it to the absolute last second. I don't see anything changing on my timing and scoring, so I don't think that he was able to improve.
And all of that will take us to the starting grid of the sprint race here this afternoon, and it lines up like this. Kyle Blevins on top, Jake Casey back in second, Alex Covert runs it up in third, Alexander Buehler is fourth, Jason Lee is fifth, Josh Reed is sixth, Chris Flemillon in seventh, Tyler Agostino in eighth, Oz Tucker is ninth, and Chris Bright rounds out the top 10. From there, it is, of course, Tyler Carlton, along with Darren Bai, Justin Hall, Chris Hannigan, John Combs, Steve McClendon, Eric Rondenberg, Brooks Clayton, along with Corey Barrett and Tom Badul. 21st through 30th goes Ethan Condi, Jimmy Castro, Ben Williams, Aaron Thacker, Ron Wolf, Ryan Verhulst, Michael Hopkins, Matthew Dupuis, Jordan Babcock, and Shane Cameron. Back to 40th, it's Blake Gambrell, Kyle Smith, Austin McColgan, Tyler Vietnan, Ryan Murphy, Greg Beckman, Tanner Klein, Carson Catlin, Bob Kulikowski, Stephen Purcell, Evan Campbell, and Adam Joseph Mailhod start the tail end of this field. And then rounding it out will be Jacob Noyes, the bottom 4 cars not putting down laps.
43-car field from Silverstone. Just a couple moments away from rolling off here. I'm telling you, coming down into turn 3. First braking zone tonight. I mean, these guys are going to be fanned out like crazy through turns 1 and 2, full throttle, finding any bit of space they can possibly get, find any type of hole that they can just throw their car down into for the braking zone to turn 3. It's going to be very, very chaotic, a lot of mayhem through 1 and 2. These guys are going to be gunning for it.
Just waiting on Dupuis, McColgan, and Tanner Klein to grid on up. You see this 43-car field backed up all the way around through the final corner at Club. And now the revs will start to build. It's one of the most famed tracks in motorsporting history. And it's go for the sprint race. Kyle Blevins getting away well. The rest of the pack slicing and dicing as they work down the pit straight, already fanning out 3 wide in the background, while already Blevins under fire from Kasich for the race lead.
Kasich's still trying to get there down on the outside, looking to the left side there of your race leader, but he covers him off. Blevins down into turn number 3, able to get clear with the race lead, but this is where I expect it to go a little haywire, 4 wide down into turn 3 a little bit further back, and
whoa, one around.
One spinner down in the middle, but everybody else able to miss. Takes them one more
corner.
Oh,
we got one over. We got one upside down. Huge crash coming around through Abbey, and that's a monster of a wreck for Justin Hall. They're fanning out behind now into Brooklands and Lutfield, I believe this is, as the field continued to slice and dice their way through. My goodness. What a monster of a flip there as Justin Hall went tumbling side over side, end over end, and they are still 3 abreast as they now work down through Woodco, down one of the longest acceleration points of the racetrack for these Spec Racer Fords.
Down into Cops for the first time tonight. Oh, Crawford throws it in a little bit deeper than Blevins, able to close up the gap a little bit further back. Everybody able to get single file before they get there. Up at the front of the field, though, Crawford all over the back bumper of the 248. Blevins, your pole sitter, under pressure. Crawford just laid that lap time in with about 2 minutes left in qualifying. Didn't have anything on the board beforehand. Able to get up to P3. Now to the back bumper of your race, the leader, as we go through Maggots and Beckett's. And now down to Hanger straight with Blevins just hanging on.
I think Kyle Blevins should be able to hang on relatively well here in this one, as the whole pack have themselves a pretty good run. There goes Alex Crawford to the inside at Stowe. Lunges down into one of the longest sweeping turns of the racetrack, and Jake Kasich trying to follow him through. Crawford up to the point as they approach the club chicane.
It's just too much of a draft down the Hanger straight. Crawford able to get the run, able to make the move. Side by side for second. Blevins just keeping it off of Kasich there on the inside. And now still side by side. Both these guys keeping it nice and tidy. Back onto the front straightaway. Completing lap number 1, maybe 3 wide. One trying to go for a move right behind. It's Alexander Bueller looking for it. Not going to be able to find it. They are stacked up from second on back, and Crawford is smiling as he's seeing some hard racing in his mirror, letting them get away.
You saw a bit of 3 wide as well. That quickly doubled itself out, and now they're looking for 3 wide again.
Oh, Kasich's around. Kasich's around, battling for third.
Jake Kasich, oh, spins it and gets drilled by Eric Ronenberg in the middle of the pack. Tough impact there for the number 11. And now the 13 going around. And they had another car picked up into the air. And now they're spinning out again coming out of turn 4. Oh, they're still going around back here. There's so much that is going awry. And I think, no, not quite. That'll cause a head-on collision. And the 703 finally gets himself rolling. This is what happened to Justin Hall with his monster of a barrel roll over on lap number 1. Holy cow.
I mean, he's just sitting there minding his own business as everybody's just stopped in front of him. And then, just got ran over. And you can see on that side shot, these noses, man. These noses are little wedges. That's all they are. Get right under the back of these cars, especially if one stopped. It's just not going to stop you.
And that's Ron Wolf, I believe, it looked like with technical problems there almost.
I was about to say, that's a very strange issue there for Wolf. I thought it was a little early for the beer league shenanigans here. Still 11 minutes left in the sprint.
One more look from above on Justin Hall's big wreck, and you're going to see everything develop up the road as they went 3 wide, and eventually everything condenses, and, well, you can't do much about it from there, and then sooner or later luck runs out, and, man, somebody went underneath him to help cartwheel him up and over.
Something tells me that's not the last flip we're going to be seeing tonight. And also, we got a little bit of a race for the lead. Blevins has gotten away from everybody further on behind. Whenever Kasich got spun for third, everybody else got stacked up a little bit. Blevins was able to get away, stay in the draft of Crawford, and he's actually pulled up back to the back bumper of the 19 for the race lead as the 43's around here. Tyler Vietnam.
Tyler Vietnam having a moment as he spun around. That's in the middle of Stowe as well. That's a very dangerous place to be stopped. And it looks like Kyle Smith may have gone around with him. This is the replay coming up into the... Oh, no, he just lost that by himself. High speed off. Then you see the 45, Tyler Carlton getting through, and then he did nick Kyle Smith there. Oof. Whoa, and then another one went spinning off. That's Gambrel.
Tough break if you're Smith. Just kind of minding your own business, and, well... somebody spinning out, taking you out. Never a good feeling. But luckily for him, it's just a sprint race. We still got the main event coming up in just a few minutes. So the one where it really matters is still a little ways away. These guys fighting hard. I see tire smoke coming down to the corner. I mean, there's action all over the racetrack. Clayton able to get by Combs here. Combs not willing to go down without a fight, though. Looking back down to the inside. Not able to get his nose in there. Back up to the race lead. Or sorry, not quite the race lead. Up into the top 5, I believe.
4th, yeah. Battle for 4th here. 137 running to the number 5 spot for Chris Flams, trying to catch Alexander Bueller. Jason Lee sitting just behind, and one of the Hale Satin cars off. I believe that may have been Kyle Smith. Jacob Noyes off the road as well, but looking like no harm, no foul. Working through Maggots and Beckett's. The top two continuing their breakaway, still within half a second of one another. Right now, Bueller leading the long train for that number 4 spot as they're working down the hangar straight here underneath the Johnny Walker Bridge. Chris Flams still under heavy fire from Jason Lee as they approach Stowe, but he will not go for the move.
Still single file coming back down. Oh, we got to move a little bit further back though. Combs getting passed once again. Todd Madole able to get by, but they're still side by side. Coming down to the chicane, maybe 3 wide. Probably not going to work through here, guys. I don't think that that's going to pan out. Somehow they're able to make it work down to the apex. A little bit of contact, but nobody's spinning just yet. Still 2 wide. Madole just gets absolutely abused on the apex, but he's coming right back at him.
John Combs off the racetrack, out wide, doors the 13, and now 3 wide again. Here's Todd Madole and Brooks Clayton now going at it, 3 wide, and it looks like the 13 could be forced to back out from the middle line and all of that. Tyler Carlton having an off just down the road. Jacob Noyes has put himself out of contention for this race as he has forced himself into pit road. And, well, see one car already sideways up the road, and Carlton looking like he just lost it in reaction to that.
Yeah, it looked like he was pulling to the left, trying to just yank that thing out of the way of the car stopped on the outside of the racetrack, and well, just maybe yanked the wheel a little bit too hard. Maybe some contact here. Oh, Flam's able to get out of it. That was a little sketchy there between him and Bueller. They're able to sort it out, battling for the 4th place spot. Well, it's a 5-way battle for 4th.
Chris Flams, Alexander Bueller, Jason Lee, all under a blanket. Just behind them, you've, of course, got Chris Hannigan. You got Chris Bright. And a double file as well as they work their way through. We're over halfway through the sprint, and we are only on lap number 4 of this race. The laps tick by in a long fashion when they're almost 2.5 minutes long, and that caused that time to just whittle down in a hurry.
Coming through the hangar straight, Flams hanging on, but this is where the slipstream comes into effect. Flams pulling out. So you got a little bit of an issue out on the racetrack. One guy going around.
And ticket to toe as well. Whoa, look out, off the road is Lee! Slides back on. Hannigan has to scramble to go evasive. Somehow that's not a big incident. This is working down the hangar straight. And he may have been given some help from behind. He sure was. A bad bump from Hannigan sent Lee a deep, and that is a great save from the number 8.
These spec racers put on a damn good show, man. Every time. 3 wide again coming down into turn number 1. Hannigan down to the inside, trying to take it Bright to the outside. Whoa. Oh, okay. I was about to say, where in the world is the 3rd guy? He's hiding behind the scoreboard a little bit. But they get it sorted out 2 wide. Bright still on the outside as we head down into turn number 3. Lee fighting back down to the inside, trying to get back down there, get that spot back from Chris Bright. Fighting around the outside. Can he keep it now the long way around? No, he's not. He's going to lose a spot to Ronenberg as well. He just throws it down to the inside. Ronenberg following Bright through. In fact, he takes a spot from Chris Bright himself down to the inside, with Lee now looking to get his slipstream down the straight.
Trouble behind, a big crash for John Combs and a hard impact right in the midst of the complex of the Farm Curve and Village. This is between Village and Abbey, and in fact, this might be coming out of the loop here towards Aintree. Just went around, and then he's trying to get himself he's just trying to stay situated. He just got drilled right on the nose. Still got this fight between Bright and Lee for 8th and 9th. Just behind them, 11th, 12th, 13th. Castro, McClendon, Barrett. Duking it out, 11th through 13th. Still having a great drive of it. The 24, the 51, and the 7 all having a good lunge of things. And now they're about to start fighting it out for the race lead as well, with Coffin and Blevins now back down to a quarter second here, Austin.
Yeah, these guys have just kept it close the entire time. Blevins hasn't been able to make a move. Here he's really close, though. Looking to the inside of Cofford. Oh, and he throws it down in there into the last chicane. Cofford gives it to him, and he takes too much. Blevins off the racetrack. Cofford back through to the lead. And Blevins is just trying to get back into the slipstream so that he has one more chance by the end of this race. 2 laps to go in the heat race. I like the attempt, though, from Blevins. He hasn't been able to find a way by. Yeah, he overshot it a little bit, but guess what? If he gets back there again, he might know to dial that back just a little bit and played a little bit more safe. He's only about 9 tenths of a second back. Run him back in another 2 or 3 tenths, get the draft down the hanger straight, and he'll be right back. This was the move. Completely missed the apex. Able to keep it actually on the racetrack. Didn't get a 1x out of it, but was way off the racing line and just gave Cofford way more speed to pass him right back.
Yeah, Cofford absolutely baited him into making that mistake. He left that door so wide open, you couldn't help but go for it, but he knew he was too far back to make it stick. And he, I think, played that to perfection. He deliberately braked early, allowed Blevins to outbrake himself, and then just swept in and took it right back. And now he's got a 1.2 second lead. That's a broken draft. It's going to take a lot for Kyle Blevins to run him down now for the end of the sprint race. Of course, it's Cofford, so he's going to be doing Cofford things, no doubt. Ryan Murphy, you see him having a bit of a moment. And here's Chris handing into the 69 of Augustino now side by side as well for the 9th spot.
All these guys still fighting for points and where they'll be starting in the main event here in just a few minutes. McClendon currently in the transfer spot to be on the pole for the main event, but we know because Cofford will pull off. Corey Barrett's probably going to take that spot over, but then who's it really going to be? Can Verhulst get up there? Can Austin Tucker get up there? Who's going to be in that elusive 12th position by the end of this?
Just behind them, this is the battle for the last spot. So this is the fight here to see who will start on pole. And that's why we see Corey Barrett being so aggressive, and Magnuson Beckett's trying to fight his way through around Steve McClendon. By the way, we are now working the final lap for Alex Cofford up the road. He's just crossed the start-finish line, so final lap is out for the sprint race. And there's still double file all the way down the hanger straight, looking for 3 of the 12 car, though. Ryan Verhulst cannot find a way to get up the middle.
These guys all fighting it out, coming down to the white flag for the heat race. 50 seconds to go. They're coming up to the final chicane, almost 3 wide. One looking for a little room. Verhulst trying to make up some spots. Barrett, though, hanging on. Again, they're all going to go up 1 spot. So Barrett in 13th is currently the transfer. Make that McClendon. You're looking at that red and blue car, the blue in the middle, red on the outsides. That's the car currently in the transfer. The 2 behind trying to get into the pole position.
Working the final lap from Silverstone for the 15-minute sprint race before we reset things for the 1-hour main event. McClendon and Tucker still 2 abreast. McClendon goes around the outside of Verhulst.
1 spun behind him.
Just a little whoopsie-daisy for Brooks Clayton.
Yeah, not the best, not the best.
And this is now up the road. Josh Freed and Alexander Bueller are double file. Now Freed going to try to take one away. Bueller over on his left.
Cofford is taking the alternate pit road.
As to be expected. That's the Arco.
Can he still win the race?
He didn't get that much of a gap up that I thought he would take in that. I think he kind of scrubbed off all the speed. I think at this point he's just flat-footing it and seeing how much speed he can gather up here. I mean, you know what this means, right? Head on into Stowe.
Is that what it's going to be?
I don't see anything else he could do. He's going to try to go for the barrel roll, I think. I just realized. Oh, nope. It's just going to be head on. And that will send Kyle Blevins through to the race lead by 4 seconds. Blevins gets the top spot. They're fighting it out for the number 2 spot just behind him. Coming down to it, Blevins with the Bug Boys. Going to lead a good chunk of this race. He started up pole to the sprint. He'll start 12th by winning the sprint race. Here's the fight for second. Coming through the final corner, Flams, Bueller trying to go for it. Flams hangs on for the number 2 spot. Hanging on for 6, it's going to be Chris Bright. And now the battle for the final transfer spot. 3 wide into the final corner. Who starts on pole? I think it's Verhulst by Justin Knows.
Holy cow, Verhulst got the pole. 0.02 of a second was all that was in it between him and McClendon coming across the line. Photo finish. And Verhulst definitely didn't use the track limits, but you only get a 1X for that. Whew.
3 wide photo finish with the transfer spot. Doesn't get much better than that. And of course, you got the good old party down at down at turn 1. Oh boy! Well, there's somebody taking the a couple cars actually looking like they're trying to take the Guan Yu Zhou line through 1.
Oh my gosh! Oh, 1 kind of succeeded.
Yeah, they're trying. Oh, those are some weak entries. There we go. There's send. Oh, so close. So close to clearing the wall with that. Still got a. Well, I don't think there's any more, though. I think that might. I'm not going to ask how that's happened. That's. Coffer just exists there now. That might explain why some of the cars were so slow. They were focused on Coffer instead.
What's he doing over there?
It's the usual shenanigans, right? Well, that is going to be pretty much that for the time being. So we are going to take ourselves a run down through the sprint race results here. I'll take you in through the top 12. Kyle Blevins, Chris Flams, Alexander Bueller were the top 3. Then Josh Fried, Eric Ronenberg, Chris Bright were the top 6. Hannigan Lee, Augustino Castro, Tucker, and Verhulst by the slimmest of margins takes up the top 12. Ryan Verhulst starts his race from pole. Still a long way to go. 1 hour racing left. We'll be back in a moment with the main event on Green Flag TV.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Green Flag TV. Just about ready to get the feature event underway, and my goodness, what a sprint race. We had a 3-wide photo finish for the final invert spot to put Ryan Verhulst up on pole. You know for a fact, Austin, we're in for a wild one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that was just a little taste, right? That was just a little 15-minute little nibbler, little appetizer there at the very beginning of this thing. We're about to get the main event. The main course is coming at you live in just a couple moments. We're about to get it locked and loaded, ready and rolling here from Silverstone. And man, I'm telling you, these spec racers, they just put on a show. Doesn't matter where we're at. Every single time, man. These things are fantastic. One of my favorite cars I've called so far. I mean, there's racing all throughout the pack. We just had a 3-wide battle for the transfer spot. Who was going to be able to start on pole? The 2 guys that missed out, they're starting 13th and 14th. So it doesn't matter where you're looking in the beer league with these race cars. There's action.
And just in time, we're ready to kick off the feature event this afternoon. 1 hour of main event racing ready to rumble. And this is how everybody lines on up. Ryan Verhulst on the pole, Tucker in second, Castro third, Augustino fourth, Lee in fifth, Hannigan sixth, Bright, Ronenberg seventh and eighth. The top 10 headed up by Josh Freed and Alexander Bueller. From there, it's Chris Flams, Kyle Blevins, Steve McClendon, Corey Barrett, Jake Kasich, Darren By, Brooks Clayton, Jordan Babcock, Shane Cameron, and Ben Williams with the top 20. Then the top 30, Todd Badul, Justin Hall, Aaron Thacker, Michael Hopkins, Greg Beckman, John Combs, Tyler Carlton, Ryan Murphy, Ethan Condi, and Austin McColgan. Evan Campbell, Stephen Purcell, Matthew Dupuis, Blake Gambro, Carson Catlin, Bob Kulikowski, Tyler Vinnan, Jacob Noyes, Kyle Smith, and Tanner Klein. Without a Joseph Mailhot, Ron Wolf, and Alex Cofford rounding out the grid.
Nice full 43 car field. Feels like I'm calling a NASCAR race here tonight. In the good old days. I mean, week in, week out in the beer league, 40+ car fields, hitting the 50s a lot of times. Fantastic. Every single week, and here at Silverstone, no exception. And we're moments away from getting this one kicked off. And well, we saw from the sprint race, it's gonna be a great one. Last week was absolutely insane in itself. I mean, just everywhere you look, there's either passing or there's crashing. Somebody's making a move or setting up a move. And well, like I said at the beginning of that sprint race, turns 1 and 2, the long, or the kind of narrow, not narrow, they're wide and short corners, I should say. Turns 1 and 2 heading down to 3. I mean, it just lets these guys spread out so far to where they come down to 3 and 4, and they're just all over the racetrack. Absolutely nowhere to go at that point. Whenever it finally narrows up, and that's whenever we finally start seeing the lap 1 mayhem. So wait for it. It's coming in just a couple moments.
And with that, the revs once more start to build. Catlin, McColgan starting from pit road. And it's go, go, go from across the pond. Again, Verhulst with that good jump. Here comes everybody else ducking it out behind. And now the mad scramble to see who is going to be surviving through Abbey out to Aintree and the Wellington Straight. It all fell apart in Village on lap number 1. We'll see if they'll hang on or if it'll happen again.
Tucker was able to get the jump on Verhulst on the initial start. And Tucker a little wide here through 4, but they're wrecking a little bit further back, or they were trying to, but they're able to get it. So, well,
they're still trying to.
Sure. Thought we were for sure we were done a couple times there, but everybody able to keep it straight. I don't see anything too crazy yet.
Looking like we have survived the opening salvo of corners here. Austin Tucker running down into Brooklands, now trying to set himself up for Luffield. Ryan Verhulst trying to retake the race lead. Look at Castro sending it in from behind. Tried to take the number 2 spot. Couldn't get the job done. Oh, we got another one up and over. Barrel rolling is Ethan Condi down the stretch between Brooklands and Luffield.
Woo.
And landing on his roof.
That thing just went soaring. And yeah, that's unfortunate for Condi. The start of the main event already flipped on your lid. On the opposite side of the racetrack is the pit wall. That's a long toe.
And
it's just a tiny bit of contact that gets him up and over.
That was a huge ride, and that was Tyler Vietnin that caused them to go a little bit further skyward. Not intentionally, of course. But this is on board with Vietnin, what he saw.
Conti just barely clipped the left rear and went for a ride. I hope he's not in VR.
Oh, now we got more of them around. Brooks Clayton around as he comes down and in towards the Maggots and Beckett's complex. Corey Barrett also sideways. They're side by side for the lead up the road with Austin Tucker going at it with Ryan Verhulst. Oh, Verhulst a little bit sideways. Doesn't hang on. Augustino's wide. Verhulst saves it. He's off the racetrack, though. Castro trying to fight his way into second.
Oh, Verhulst was dirt tracking it around there, trying to get the lead on the outside. Didn't pan out. Now stuck side by side for second on the outside, but he drives it out wide, and he's able to hang on to the second place spot, and he's still going to be in the tow of Tucker. Side by side further back, still a hornet's nest, working lap number 1 off the final corner. Everybody able to keep it all right for now. 2 wide, 3 wide a little bit further back. This one gets sucker hold. Eric Ronenberg going backwards down into turn number 1. But Tucker through to the race lead, 3-way battle for second.
Alexander Bueller, Josh Free, Chris Flams, Jake Kasich all under a blanket. The rest of the pack cutting through. It is Austin Tucker who led the first lap to green. Trouble, a few cars going around to the background, and oh boy, that's a hard impact that we just saw. And actually, there's a whole host of them that have gone off as well. Corey Barrett, Tanner Klein, Jacob Noyes, Kyle Smith. All cars having issues. See, already one of them's off the road on the left-hand side of the track. And then it just fell apart and it never stopped. Goodness. Castro and Lee now. Looking set to go at it, and now Chris Hannigan also in the fray. Look at the battle pack from second on back. Tucker out already, Austin, by 2 seconds over the rest of this field.
Yeah, Tucker's starting to scoot away. Verhulst made the move, but it just didn't stick. Got sideways. Fell off. I mean, he was only about 5/6 of a second back, but he's gotten stuck in a battle for second. They've just all drugged themselves out of the draft of Austin Tucker, and Tucker is just scooting away. I mean, he's off in the distance.
And look at all of this action. They were 3 wide for a moment. Augustino cutting off Flams on the exit of Stone. Nearly turned around. Less than 5 minutes into this race, and they're lunging it in deep as well into the midst of the club chicane. Well, out through club. That's the Vale chicane, sorry. Holy cow. That was a close call for a good chunk of this field, and look at the pack, Talladega style from 5th on down.
Yeah, 2x2, all these guys coming through turns 1 and 2, sweeping around these corners nice and fast, barely a lift, if any at all. And then down to the 3, heavy braking, trying to just get your nose in somewhere through these front 4. Nobody really able to make a move. Kasich looking to make one a little bit further back, trying to get to the inside, showing the nose. Not able to get to the inside, though, of Augustino, so Kasich just kind of stuck in 9th place, but he's looking like he's the one that wants to make a move, and I think he did. Able to get to the inside of Augustino now down the straight, trying to take 8.
Jeremy Castro, Jason Lee going at it. Lee looking for the outside through left field. And first yellow flag of the night, only 6 minutes in.
Wow.
That is super early.
50 seconds after the pit window opened, the first yellow flag flies. So the that's an early caution. Could really open up the pit window, though. If you come down pit road right now, take some gas, does that open up some strategy options? Maybe you lower the amount of pit stops you got to take a little bit later. You have to wait and see. We got some people spun out under caution.
And this is well after the yellow flag came out as well. This is like 30 seconds after the fact, so they just lost it all by themselves. It's Blake Gambrell and Tanner Klein. Klein perhaps drove a little bit too quick for being under yellow flag conditions on that. This might be a quick caution too, as well here, Austin. Of course, because there's only 5 minutes in. There's no lap traffic you have to worry about. So that takes out a whole lap of caution procedures right there. So you should be able to get back to green flag racing after just the pitting lap.
Yeah, it shouldn't take too long. Just a lap or two. Shouldn't be too long of a caution period here for these guys. But what that does do, typically we don't talk about this in the beer league with these cautions, because typically we only get 1 or 2 a race, and there's either a race for the lead or it's not, or the strategy gets thrown so into question that it doesn't necessarily matter. But the gap comes down like crazy on Tucker here. He had a 2-second lead already. He was in the, the position where he could just really stretch that gap out. 2nd through 4th were just battling like crazy. He could have stretched that lead out to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds, just running on his own, running qualifying laps. But instead, the yellow flag flies. Everybody's going to be brought right back under him, and maybe a little bit of strategy comes into it.
We're a little worried about the sun and its location right now on the racetrack.
Is it in danger?
We might be in danger of running this race under the night. I mean, you can see how much that sun is setting, right? I mean, a big orange glow basking the racetrack. There's what?
Oh, and we don't have lights.
Yeah, that's my concern. I mean, 52 minutes left, and there's no lights on these cars, and there's no lighting around this racetrack.
We're so far up north. We're so far up north. We're in the UK. It's 4 o'clock in Sim, and it's
4 o'clock. What's the date? I'm gonna look up the sunset time. It's pretty accurate.
It's October 30th. It's October 30th. So it's gonna be early, man. It's gonna be 5 o'clock.
Sunset 4:36. Oh
yeah,
boy.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
I feel like there might have been an oversight.
So we have 26 minutes of still having some sunlight on the racetrack.
Now,
after that, we're gonna have 0.
But that's if we don't have time acceleration.
We don't.
We don't? Okay.
We don't. I can see it increasing. It's going a second by a second. So we're good on that. But that's still only half of the rest of the race.
Yeah, I noticed it was kind of getting a little bit dark, and I'm nervous now. I wonder what they're going to do. This might be a new quantity. I mean, do they just run the race?
I always wondered what NASCAR at Talladega would look like at night without lights.
I don't think
we're about to get something close.
The only car that has lights that are working are the iRacing safety car.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe the truck lights all the way around, but
how dark is it gonna get? Is it gonna get like
very? Like we're talking pitch dark because there's no lights. Yeah. Again, there's no lights around this racetrack. It doesn't have night lighting except on places like the pit straight and maybe around the grandstands.
Whenever we have night races, I can never figure out who we're looking at, and I have a hard time calling whenever somebody wrecks or something. So
well, I won't be able to tell either because you can't see anyone.
Well, that's what these guys are going to be crawling around for the last 25 minutes just trying to stay on the track.
Well, that's why I wonder, like, how are they going to run this? Like, you can't. I'm going to be honest. You can't run a race in pitch darkness. It's not possible.
We're going to do like race has to end by sunset. Like
they might have to do that. They might have to end this race early. So
should we alert them to the problem?
I feel like we should. You know what? I think we're going to do that. We're going to take a step back. We'll be back in a moment once we sort things out under caution here. Oh dear.
I'll be right back.
Ready to go, back to green flag racing. Word on the street, no matter what happens, they're running this race to its conclusion, darkness or not. They're confident they'll run the clock out before that sun is fully set. Whether or not that will ring true, well, there's only one way to find out, is to stick around for the next 46 some odd minutes. Right now, though, shadows are growing longer and darkness starting to fall. Lights are out, we're ready to go back to racing.
Yeah, they said they tested and that it was light until 5:10
or so.
and the clock is going to run out at 5:02. Now, how long ago did they test this? How many days ago? And did they use that day whenever they did the testing? Because if they did, the sunset would have been a little bit later in the day.
Well,
So,
I do want to point out, sunset is not when light fully disappears. That's just when it dips below the horizon. But it will
You are
still
correct.
stay a little bit light. Just enough that you might be able to see for about
Just
another
worried.
10-15 minutes. I think that's what they might be going off of. But it's going to be really dangerously towing that line
It's
regardless.
going to be dark.
Austin Tucker leading the way, going for the Delaware double file restart here. He'll take to the green flag, this time by 45 minutes on the docket. We're back to racing.
Man, talking about jumping early, Austin Tucker
Wow.
easily out to the race
Traffic
lead. I
must be
mean,
damned in the background. Look at this.
yeah, these guys, they're thinking maybe be safe, right, if they're too wide, or get as much speed as possible, try to get as much as possible, screw the 1X. I don't care about it. Oh, man. Jason Lee trying to get second away from Verhulst, goes way out wide, is able to have the inside here for turn 3. Keep it down there, be even before they come down to 4. But this is where it's tough. Can you keep the outside? Always going for the switchback, trying to undercut the 12, but he doesn't quite have the run. I don't think he's going to be able to go for it. The 12 defensive through the kink. Can Lee get the run on Verhulst as they're all racing further back? Everybody fighting for positions. Lee to the inside for second.
Clean through the first sector, now down to the Brooklands and Luffield. Jason Lee driving it in deep, picks off the spot from Verhulst, but now already 3/4 of a second back from Austin Tucker. 8.5 tenths of a second out. Josh Freed has gone around in the background, and he has stopped right in the middle of the circuit as well. Brooks Clayton has gone around as well. They're both off the racetrack. But looking like they'll get themselves sorted a little problem. Side by side up to Cops. Normally a sentence that fills people with dread, but here, quite viable in Spec Racer Ford machinery.
It definitely could present a challenge, right? I feel like if we see a left front fender to a right rear one, we might have a little bit of an issue. But going in there door to door, probably okay. Verhulst's not okay. He's way off the racetrack. I don't know where the hell Ryan Verhulst thinks he's going, but that is not a corner. Finds his way back on. He's going to have a slowdown.
Oh,
Give
yeah,
up a ton of
big
time to
time.
the front, too, here down the Hanger straight.
Well, he's not slowing down. He's running with it. Oh, there he
Slow
goes. Now he's being forced to slow.
Smart to wait until the end of the straightaway, though.
I think he
Better to do
may
it
have
at the
been
end after
trying
you've
to.
already accelerated.
He may have been trying to see if he could run it off, maybe behind, but it's not going to happen when you're in the trap with somebody.
He's still having to get out of the way. That must have been a massive slowdown. He's fallen all the way just about outside of the top 10. He's fallen out way out of the top 20. That's your pole sitter. Ryan Verhol's fallen all the way back to 12th. And look at Jason Lee. Holy crap. He's made a move for a second and got all over the back bumper of Austin Tucker just one lap. Managed to cut into that huge gap that Tucker had built up. Jason Lee is flying.
He was within the draft, 0.7 of a second. He was able to use that to perfection down the straights. And now he is in a battle for the race lead. They're all to double file further behind. For spots right at the cusp of the top 10. Ronenberg, Badol, Augustino, Verhulst, all under a blanket. 13 cut into the inside of the 017, the 12, and the 69. Also trying to do battle.
All these guys fighting further back. Still 41 minutes left into this thing. Not sure how the strategy is going to play out. We did see a couple guys decide to come down pit road. Everybody from 22nd on back came down pit road. Everybody that restarted in the top 22 stayed out on the racetrack. So going to have to wait to see if that comes into play a little bit later tonight. But right now, all these guys just fighting for everything they can out on the racetrack. Ben Williams looking to the inside. He's taking a couple spots. Gotten himself up to the 14th place spot, but look at Alex Cofford, man. I mean, he started way back in the field, up to 15th. Now I'm gonna have to do a little bit of searching, see if he came down pit road. Cofford is somebody that came down pit road, so he's the highest running of the guys that came down pit road, topped off on gas.
Oh boy.
And man, he's already up to 14th, sorry.
Going 2 wide and almost 3 wide through Maggots and Beckett's is always brave. The 816 gets in it with John Combs. Little bit of door-to-door contact as Crawford forced the issue. Breaking through on that one. Trouble behind. The 27 is off the racetrack, as is Corey Barrett off the road. That's Hopkins, the other car that went around. Ooh, just tagged himself, and then he's the one that took out Corey Barrett. So cause and effect right there.
Oh man, it's a hornet's nest back here too. I mean, there's just not any bit of breathing room on this racetrack. I feel like everywhere you look, somebody's just about running over somebody else. All these guys fighting each other through, coming back down to the front straight, trying to get position. Shane Cameron down to the inside of that number 74, trying to take 18th. It looks like he's got a nose on him. Could have the position as we funnel down to the turn number 1. We might see a bit of a bump draft. I don't think that works in this car. It's a wedge nose, buddy. That's not going to help him out too much. Might hurt him.
It worked at Zolder last week down the backstretch.
You got to line it up nice and make sure it's a bump and not a shove.
Still looking for a little bit of 3. They're able to get through safe and sound. Hard on the brakes for Steve McClendon. And almost running the 713 up and off the racetrack. Fights on for 3rd. Chris Hannigan now under fire from Chris Flams. Flams going to back off. Top 3, about 1 second separate right now, but the problem is Hannigan is under fire from cars behind.
Yeah, Hannigan would like to focus forward, try to be able to fight Austin Tucker and Jason Lee for this race lead, but having to focus behind him, put on a defensive battle against Flams, Bueller behind. Just hanging on to that 3rd place spot makes it more difficult, but he is just on the edges of that draft. And we're coming up to the portion of the racetrack where you can really use that to your advantage. Hannigan getting a little bit of it down that straightaway right there, cutting it down to half a second between him and Lee. So as long as Hannigan has a decent run through the S's here, he's going to have a huge draft down the hanger straight and could put himself, and honestly 2 other guys, Flams and Bueller, right behind him. And, you know, why stop there? There's a whole conga line of cars behind him. The entire top 10 is within breathing distance of each other. I mean, they're all under a blanket. It's bringing everybody up to the race leader.
Look at the conga line down the racetrack. Austin Tucker maintained the, oh my goodness. John Combs just gave a bit of an awkward bump to Ryan Verhulst, and in doing so, lost the nose of the car.
Who's Peppa Pig? Is that Ben Williams? That Peppa Pig
I think
scheme
it
is
is.
unsettling.
Peppa Pig in general is not. Have you ever seen front-facing Peppa Pig? That in of itself.
I'm
is
looking
enough
at front-facing Peppa
nightmares.
Pig every time that I see the nose of Ben Williams.
You haven't seen the Four Eyes Peppa Pig though. I'm gonna back this up a little bit. I cannot express how hard of a shove this was. I mean, this must have been a hard impact. It's close back of
I can't believe you
Verhulst.
can get away with this.
Away it goes. It really did say, all right, I'm out. My job's done here. My people need me.
He unlatched it, I guess. I don't know. That was a interesting
Must have
one
hit
for
the
Coase.
connector pins on the front.
Yeah, I mean that was so minor, not much in it. They're battling side by side for second though. Jason Lee has gotten caught up, passed by 2 of the guys that were just running them down. Hannigan and Flams both by him, and now battling for second. Flams looking to the inside. Can he take it? He's got the move done. Hannigan left in the dust, and now Flams is the guy trying to challenge Tucker for the lead. Tucker's had. Ooh.
4 wide for a brief moment as Verhulst pulled to the side, and then they went 3 trying to get around him. Verhulst, I think, had another slowdown because he just lost about 6-7 spots in one straightaway. Sorry to cut you off there. You don't see 4 all that often.
Hey man, I expect to be cut off whenever somebody sees 4 wide. I have no problem with it. I was commentating single file cars, so we're all good. We're all good. Crawford though to the inside of the 13, trying to make another move. He's into the top 10, trying to make it 9th over Todd Madole, going into the S's. Maggots and Beckett's. Does Crawford be as brave as he was last time? Oh, he just throws it in there, able to take the spot, sweep across the nose. Crawford up to 9th. What a move from Crawford, and all over the back bumper of the 24 immediately. Jeremy Castro, the next one up on the chopping block for Crawford. I've never seen him fly through a field this fast. This is incredible. Up to 9th already, and look, that's the lead draft right in front of him.
Looking like big problems with Tyler Vietnan. John Combs is also around, so there's been a collision somewhere. Adam Joseph Mailhot also with problems. They were 2 wide on the run down to Maggots and Beckett's. Oh, Combs got sent sideways, and it was just a oh boy, that was a massive stack up, it looked like. Kind of hard to tell what happened fully. This will be a better angle of it.
Ooh, Clayton just caught him with his right rear. Clayton turned in, and I believe the car on the inside just didn't turn in enough to the apex, and just, I mean, I'm telling you, barely got brushed by the right rear of Clayton. And just turned the front end around a little bit too much, and it got it loose. Got it pointed on its nose and turned around, and unfortunately it caused a huge stack up. But man, we're racing hard for the race lead. Austin Tucker, he's got it, but there's not much between the top 7. I mean, everybody is under a blanket up here racing for the lead.
Yeah, right now the fight for the lead is on with 35 minutes left to go. So there's still a lot that can happen in this race to try to throw some wrenches into the works. Jason Lee and Jake Kasich going to exchange blows. Those are not Peppa Pig paint schemes, by the way. Those are Flying Donut Motorsports paint schemes. Those are just donuts with eyes.
The pink one looks like Peppa Pig.
It'd have to have 4 eyes, I think. And it's got sprinkles on the front of it, I'm pretty
sure. It looks like Peppa Pig from the front. It looks like Peppa Pig from the front. Yeah, from the side, obviously, it's a donut on the side.
You can see the
That's
sprinkles
Peppa
on
Pig.
it.
That is
Look at
Peppa
that.
Pig.
It's so clear.
I didn't see the sprinkles. I didn't see the sprinkles. I didn't see the sprinkles.
Second look.
Yeah, the sprinkles do make a difference, I'll be honest. It's just pimples. It's pig pimples.
If your pimples are green and blue, I think you have bigger problems to worry about, to be honest.
Well, Tucker's got some pretty big problems right now. I don't think it's pimples. It's Chris Hannigan. Unless Hannigan's got pimples, then it's pimples. Hannigan to the race lead.
Hannigan making the jump through Stowe. He'll get to the point. Austin Tucker trying to cut through as well, just behind. Jake Kasich still under fire. Chris Flams, Jason Lee, Alexander Bueller both in the fray. Tucker not going to try to take it back. Giving Hannigan the left drive. Here we go. Looking for 3 wide for second. Flams with the dive. 4th to the number 2 spot with a 137, but Kasich still holds the inside.
I don't think Tucker's going to do that again. Kasich down to the inside, trying to get the spot. Can he get it? Flams hanging on around the outside. He's going to be set up nicely for the next corner. Flams able to hang on to it. Kasich trying to just look down to the inside now that he's got a better run off the corner, but he's not going to be close enough. Austin Tucker continues to bleed positions. He was leading at the start of that lap. He's back to 6. Terrible, terrible last sector for Tucker. I guarantee you he's not going to be pushing somebody that deep into that corner again whenever you got 2 fast guys breathing down your neck.
Evan Campbell and Kyle Smith having issues as Campbell just got turned around and then backed up. Yep, right into Kyle Smith.
Oh, wide there for Chris Hannigan into the dirt. Could present an opportunity for Chris Flams. Coming down the straightaway, he's all over the back bumper of Hannigan. Doesn't want to give Kasich an opportunity to get into the fight, so he pushes his teammate down the straight. Does he look to the inside for the lead? No, Flams is going to be nice to his teammate. Just stay in line and work with him. Surprised to see him not go for the race lead, but they're going to hang on to the front 2 spots as we have another issue a little bit further back.
That's Jacob Noyes going around, and the just decided to park it after that. Decided, nope, I think I'm done with this.
So now it's Hannigan's turn, being a parachute up at the front, just giving the guys behind him a big old slipstream down these straightaways. See how Hannigan likes it. Can he fend off the war of challengers behind him? Kasich giving the bumper to Flams. Just trying to get him up there, get him close enough to Hannigan so that maybe Jake could get a 2-for-1 coming down after the hanger straight.
Sun continuing to dip towards the horizon. This is around the time where you'd start to see headlights flicking on in endurance cars like GT3s, GT4s, even Porsche Cup cars. Visibility still
Kasich.
looking more or less unimpeded though for now. Kasich making the move.
He had the slipstream, he has the run. It only gets him so far, side by side with Flams for second, but then diving into the corner, he's able to pull even with Hannigan. Chris gets a little bit better run on the outside, able to use all the racetrack. Kasich uses as much as he can, but then Hannigan getting the help from his teammate as a couple guys going off into pit road. That's a little earlier than I thought we'd see. Bueller deciding to call it quits early, temporarily going up to the race lead, pulling down pit road on the time and scoring, but Chris Hannigan still the leader, almost side by side with Kasich. Kasich finds a hole between the 2 teammates, but Flams doesn't want to be there. Look to the inside, but it's not going to be enough. Pulls back in line, Kasich to the inside for the lead.
And all of this while pit stops underway. Bueller, Castro, Williams, Verhulst bailing into pit road. You saw them jumping ahead of your race leaders. That's because pit road actually cuts in and allows drivers that are pitting to briefly overtake the cars of the race lead because they get to bypass the last 3 turns on the racetrack in doing so. Right now, Jake Kasich hanging on. Hannigan, Flams, Ronenberg, and Tucker. The top 5 all under a second. Battle for the lead, not going anywhere anytime soon.
Blue Peppa Pig up at the front, hanging on to it. We got a big run a little bit further back. Ronenberg going down to the inside of Flams, diving it in there, late on the brakes, taking 3rd away from him. I mean, easy as can be for Ronenberg. Just as late on the brakes as possible. Kasich a little loose up in the race lead, just about lost it there through the right-hander. But he's able to hang on, up in the lead. But now, again, it's his turn, being up in the front. He's the parachute, and, well, he doesn't have any help behind him. I don't see a teammate within the first 5, 6, 7 cars anywhere in this draft, so it's Kasich by himself. Hannigan, the first car in line. Is it going to be Chris or is it going to be Ronenberg that makes the move?
Halfway home, just over the mark, 29 minutes to go. Coming on up, and only 1 yellow so far. That came just 6 minutes into this race. So still lots of room for a second yellow flag to come out.
Man, Hannigan really messed up the S's, but it might put him just far enough back. No, Ronenberg, if he went for the bump draft, I think they were both going to get to Kasich, but instead he goes to the inside of Hannigan. He just wants second. He doesn't even care about that first place spot for now. Ronenberg diving down, taking second away. So Ronenberg, he was 6th at the beginning of this lap, started 8th in the race, up to 2nd place. He's going to be the next one to challenge, or
Here we go,
no,
they're
he's going to pull it
pitting.
down to pit road.
And now you can see just how, look at how much they're able to jump this racetrack. I mean, they're all ducking out to the left, and meanwhile, Ronenberg coming around to the pit straight. He'll actually cross the start-finish line before Hannigan is. And they actually had to have a big word with these drivers before the race about how when you're on the relative, You absolutely cannot pass anybody until you pass that pit speed start cone. Otherwise, you're going to get a penalty for passing under the yellow. That's why we had so many of those phantom drive-thrus at Circuit Zolder. It was for passing under the yellow flag coming through pit road.
Luckily, they don't have to worry about it under the green flag conditions, but that's a big worry. I mean, I would be so worried about that coming to pit road here. It is not a good layout for that whatsoever. They would have to move the pit road commitment line a good chunk of the way back. But
well, it's not too bad. You just have to keep behind the driver in front of you on the relative. It's not too difficult to do. Just be a little conservative at entry. You're not fighting for spots anyway, so you don't need to attack the line as much.
Like if somebody in front of you stays out and you're trying to come down pit road, if you get too close, because they turn left and go away from the racetrack, you could pass them as they're kind of turning away from pit road. If it's laid out poorly, I don't know. Well, I would have to get a better look at it. But no, Peppa Pig. Peppa Donut.
Tanner Klein and Ben Williams both going around, and now side by side for the lead again. Flams trying to take it around the long way. He's going to be forced to back out. Kasich hangs on for the time being. But look at the switchback through Stowe. Or
Kasich went
sorry.
too far. He bit off more than he could chew. Flams back to the outside here, coming down into Maggots and Beckett's. He's able to get the edge over Kasich as he comes into the corner. Able to just barely get ahead. He had a good nose in front. Able to just drive in deeper. Kasich didn't have the commitment with only a nose in it. And now Flams has the lead, but down the longest straightaway. Kasich is just far enough off, but instead, Alex Crawford, he's looking to the inside. He's bump drafting Flams. No, he's going to the inside for the race lead. Alex Crawford last to first challenge completed.
Now he's got to hold it, which is easier said than done at a track like this. And the top four are all in a pit row. The top six are. Crawford staying out. There's the pass for the lead. Now here's the big challenge. Crawford pitted under the yellow flag, but the next car that also did that is 7 seconds behind. He has no draft help right now. He might very well lose the race lead just because he doesn't have anybody helping him with the draft.
I don't know. In qualifying, it makes sense because you're all trying to help each other. You bump draft. In the race, if you're in a pack, there are people that are just going to be racing each other, slowing each other down. I think him being out there on clean track all by himself, if he can stretch this another couple laps, is massive for him. The only thing, if the caution flag comes out, he has to pit, and he'll have to be at the back all over again. So do you risk it? Do you risk staying out there in the clean air, or do you call it quits and put yourself back in the mayhem just to protect yourself in case the caution comes out?
Boy, Jay Kasich getting aggressive on pit exit and making a pass around the long way. Take a look at this. He got around the 137. Flams is over on the inside of the racetrack, and this was a game of chicken. Look at where they are at right now. Flams just exited the pit box, tried to get out of pit road. Kasich wasn't having it, and basically forced him to back out there.
So does Crawford come down pit road this time? Or does he stay out on the racetrack? That's my question. I just feel like for Crawford, is it worth it staying out on the racetrack time and time again after these guys have come down pit road? If that yellow flag flies, you're screwed, man. You're screwed. You're going to be way back in the back. I know Crawford's done the last to first challenge already, but after a yellow flag, 17 minutes left on the docket after that, probably no. There's no chance for Crawford. So do you play it safe, or do you want to stay out there and give yourself the opportunity to just build the lead in that clean air a little bit further back? Another replay. You have another issue. Skating off sideways off the track. Able to hang on to it, though. Oh, but is that a call on it quit?
Yep.
What in the world?
Further down the field, not a lot of incentive to stick around, I guess, for the time being. Right now, we've only got 9 minutes before the yellow flag window closes, so not a lot of time. We're going to get a second caution this race. Sun still just hovering above the horizon, and I think we might actually be able to keep up with this race, at least with enough life that the guys can be able to see to the end. Tyler Carlton, Dupuis, McClendon are in the pit road. These are 3 cars that all pitted under the safety car period. Alex Crawford, still one driver that were waited on, along with Ron Wolf, Brooks Clayton, and Greg Beckman. Michael Hopkins, Tyler Vietnan, and Jordan Babcock all came in this time by as well.
Yeah, I think we're going to be fine on the brightness. 23 minutes left. We're past the sunset time, and I'm still seeing a decent bit of sunlight. Now it is going to get pretty dark here for the last 5 or so minutes, I do think, but for the most part, we'll be a-okay. Now these guys might start missing some breaking zones or breaking points, I should say, going down into the corners, missing their line a little bit. So I wouldn't be surprised if it gets a little bit too dark, if we see some more mistakes, kind of open up some opportunity for some more guys to, I don't know, maybe pick up some scraps from other people making those mistakes. But the last 5 minutes, I do think it's going to be pretty daggum dark.
Watching the battle for the number 2 spot between Brooks Clayton and Ron Wolf. They're also side by side for 5th with Eric Ronenberg under fire from Greg Beckman, Chris Hannigan, Jake Kasich, Chris Flams, all under a blanket. Alexander Bueller, some 3 seconds up the road or so. Right now is the furthest car up that pitted under green flag conditions with the rest of the field. And he's a good way up as well. Right now, not a whole lot is stopping Alexander Bueller from coming out on top. Alex Cobb is in the pit road. This is going to be a big one to see where he's going to come out to play.
Yeah, he decided that the 2 or 3 laps that he had out in the clean air was enough. He didn't want to risk it any further, coming down to 21 minutes to go. Crawford coming down for his final pit stop of the race. Like you said, he was one of those that came down, took a splash of gas early on, was able to get through the field extremely quick, started literally plumb last, 43rd on the field, or in the field, able to take the race lead right before he comes down pit road. Now, up on the jacks, taking tires, get that thing filled up with fuel. Where does Crawford come out?
Well, he's going to lose the lead so far to Ron Wolf, but that's fine for the time being. But there's Alexander Bueller. Bueller takes the race lead, so Crawford no longer on top, but he is going to come out in a solid second place here. So Crawford could be the car that could bridge the gap here between Bueller and then 3rd on down.
Crawford comes out in front of Ronenberg, comes out behind Bueller. Bueller, I believe, was the first car that came down pit road. So he must have pitted, gotten himself into clean air and started running some really, really good lap times, because he is stormed up to have a second and a half on Crawford, and Crawford's been the fastest guy throughout the field all night. So mightily impressive from Bueller to put himself in that situation. Still, Ron Wolf, though, looking at Ron Wolf, 11 laps on the tires, and he's still got to come down pit road. So up in the race lead, Wolf is not somebody to worry about. It's just between Bueller and Crawford.
So Kasich, Flams, Hannigan, and Tucker all under a blanket. Look at the 137 now trying to make a move for the long way around Hannigan. Hannigan cuts him off. And the 11 car continuing to just barely cling on to the tail end. Hannigan, oh, now he's under fire. Here comes Austin Tucker trying to cut back to the inside. The front row starter making a dive around Chris Hannigan on the outside of Maggots and into Beckett's. How about
makes
that?
the move stick. He's able to slide it across the nose of Hannigan. I can't believe he made that work. It looked like he was super tight through the S's, but able to hang on, able to just slide across the nose of Hannigan. Can he hang on down the front straightaway? Does Hannigan just push him down, trying to catch up to the guys in front as they're starting to lose touch with all the fighting that they've had? And speaking of which, through the pit stops, these two groups have lost the front two, Alexander Bueller and Alex Crawford. If they get to racing, can these two groups, can they catch back up to Bueller and Crawford? How hard do the 58-19 race? Bueller's wide in the final chicane. He might give an opportunity to Crawford. Bueller's wide. He wrecks Crawford. They're giving him the opportunity right now.
Ron Wolf comes to pit road, and Alex Crawford continues to tumble backwards. He is now mired in the middle of this second pack, and that might be the end of his bid on trying to go for the win. Caught up to Bueller. Bueller just cast it a little bit too wide. Spun it out, and Crawford tried to slam the brakes and just locked up and piled right into him.
Well, that turned what was going to be a 1v1 showdown, slugfest. Old Western movie. Oh, man, one sideways there. Literally a showdown.
Don't count the battle done yet. They're within a second now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It was going to be 1v1. That's going to bring at least 3 more cars into it, because Ronenberg, Kasich, and Flams are going to probably at least try to work together in the second half of the lap to bump draft each other up to the 58. And then even then, if they get to racing, Crawford's leading a group that is huge. Another 4 or 5 cars that's going to come with him. That if they get to racing in this main pack, that second pack is going to be up here in a jiffy. So we very well could have a 8-car battle for the lead in 7 minutes. I mean, this could be the most mental finish to a beer league race.
And there's only 2 minutes to go before the caution window will close, and we'll be running this race green to the end. Daylight continuing to wane. It's still going to be close. We're still going to be running right up on the razor's edge of how these guys are going to be able to run these cars. But for now, still with good visibility all over the racetrack. Kasich, Ronenberg, now down to just half a second behind Bueller.
Bueller struggling through the S's, missing the apex ever so slightly. Kasich nailing it, and Ronenberg doing good considering his visibility is impaired by Kasich right in front of him, has the dirty air to contend with, and now these guys have the draft. Kasich has the draft of Bueller down to Hanger Straight. They're closing, all the way down to the corner. Ronenberg not even going for a move. He's content with just trying to catch up to the leader, and they are absolutely doing it. Combs down to half a second behind Alexander Bueller for the race lead, and he's going to bring 2 more with him. Ronenberg pulling off. Not quite sure where that was from Ronenberg. He just gave up the spot to Flams. All of a sudden pulled off to the side of the racetrack, but he continues in 4th, just well off the pace.
Yeah, Ronenberg, I think, might be trying to be the anchor here. He has continued to slow. He might have a slowdown penalty because he's continuing to drop off on these guys. He's got a slowdown that he's trying to serve, and that is really causing him big time here. Now he could be the bridge car between the first trio and the bout loosely strung together 5 or so on back. 35 seconds before the caution window expires. Bueller continues to hang on for the lead, trying to put himself in prime position if there is a last-second caution that comes out.
And importantly, Ronenberg getting that slowdown has now put him right in the middle where he has just about got the draft of the guys in front. If he could just have a really good next sector, he will have the draft of these guys coming into Sector 3. And the guys behind him are now catching him. So we're absolutely about to have an 8-car battle for the lead here in the beer league. I believe we've got a lot of guys connected to this front train. It might be 7, but either way, we've got a good chunk of cars all bunching up at the race lead that all have a shot at it.
And caution window has officially expired. We are going to the end from here. Only 1 yellow on the day, and it comes very early. Kasich sending one down the inside for the race lead at Cobbs. Look at the drive around the outside from Bueller. Alexander Bueller trying to drive to the point. Chris Flams just behind for the number 2 spot.
Who's it going to be for the second place spot? Flams drives it in deeper on the outside. Looks like he's going to be able to hang on, but Kasich drives it in deeper on the outside of the next one, able to have the inside for the final corner of the S's. And Kasich's not going to be able to keep his nose in. It's going to be Flams in second. He's got the draft of Bueller. He's going to be the first challenger, but it's a long, long line of challengers. No telling who's it going to be at the end of this one. 14 minutes to go. Bueller the leader. But, man, I would hate to see what's in his mirror right now. I mean, just a minute ago, it was just a 1v1 battle. He was like, yeah, I can maybe handle this. Now you got 4 just directly behind you coming out of the corner.
There's only about 6, maybe 5 laps of racing left as well, so that is not a lot of time at all if you want to make something happen. Bueller still doing his darndest, trying to hang on however he can, but Chris Flams is right there. You now got first all the way to 6th under a blanket, and it's going to be a party for the final laps.
Bueller hanging on into 1. Flams just breathing off the back bumper ever so slightly. Kasich looking like he's going to make a move down to the inside of turn 3, but he fades off just a little too slow on the outside of 2. Flams diving it in deep down to the back bumper of your race leader. Not in close enough, but he drives it out wide before we come down into 4, trying to get a good exit out of the corner. Nice and straight coming out. A little bit better than your race leader. A little bit faster, and in the draft, Chris Flams, he was seconds off the race lead. 5, 6, 7 seconds off the race lead, but they crashed for the win with 20 minutes to go. And now Chris Flams all over the back bumper decides not to go for the move. Just bumping Bueller down the back straightaway, but that opens the door for Kasich. He's right back all over the back bumper of Flams. Flams now under immense pressure as Crawford looks to the inside of Kasich for 3rd.
Crawford just took the spot away from Ronenberg down the Wellington straight. Now alongside with Kasich as they hit Copps down the backstretch and down the National Circuit alternative grid. Headed up into Copps. Still too wide for the number 3 spot further behind. Kasich really working to keep Crawford at bay, and that's allowing the top 2 to start to break away ever more.
Side by side to the S is typically not a good idea if you want to keep touch with some guys up front. Crawford wisely just backs off into 4th place. Just wants to ease in back behind Kasich, try to get back up to Bueller and Flams, who are starting to pull away for the lead. Kasich way wide off the racetrack into the grass. At least a 1X. I don't know about a slowdown. Crawford's going to be looking to take advantage down the hanger straight. And I think Kasich is serving that slowdown, giving up 3rd, giving up 4th, maybe even 5th to Ronenberg. So Kasich down and out of it, but still in the draft. So he's got a chance. Flam sideways for 2nd. He was all over the back bumper of your race leader. He gets loose, and now he's dropping spots. Crawford is now your 2nd place guy. It's the 2 guys that wrecked for the lead earlier. They have a little bit more company, but it's still the same 2 that were sideways just moments ago.
Alexander Bueller, Alex Crawford, Kyle Blevins all under a blanket as they continue to try to duke it out. And now side by side for 2nd. Crawford seeing if he can't mount a charge with 11 minutes on the clock. Double file for 3rd. Off the racetrack for a moment goes Flams. Blevins continuing to hang on.
Lamb's hanging on to 3rd, just trying to find a way to get himself back into the battle for the lead, but he's narrow into turn 4, trying to go defensive. Not what you want to do if you're trying to catch guys. Blevins all over the back bumper. Could have an opportunity here. I don't know if he's going to push Flams, go for the move. Already peeking out to the inside. Blevins, he was the fastest guy in qualifying. You got to think that he was going to be up here at the end of the race. He's found his way up here. Kyle Blevins up to 3rd.
More side-by-side battles deeper down the field as well as drivers like Josh Freed, Brooks Clayton, and Steve McClendon continue to be embroiled in their own type battle pack. So while the lead is also going on, you've still got other spots down the grid as well. Still going out. Look at Josh Freed, look at the inside of Verhulst, but no move. And Crawford not going to make the duck for the race lead either into Copps.
Yeah, Crawford just having to breathe the throttle a little bit, give way, but then get the draft as soon as we get back on the straightaway. Does he make the move before we get down to the S's? No, he doesn't want to bring the guys a little bit further back into the battle. We're nearing the end of this thing. Only 9.5 minutes to go. He wants to keep this a 2-man fight. Doesn't want to bring Blevins, Flams, Ronenberg into it. The problem is, though, Blevins is running quick laps. He's getting himself up there.
Crawford with the move down the inside of Bueller, down the hanger straight underneath the Johnny Walker Bridge. And now up into Stowe. Crawford sweeps across the nose to cut off the run, so he can't try to mount another charge around the high side for the over-under.
And Crawford with a pretty good corner. Bueller able to match him, get the draft down into the final chicane. Not going to make a move. Blevins is easing up on these guys as they've been battling. Does Bueller make another move as we come down into turn 1? Can he keep himself close enough into the first braking zone? So down into 3. Can he get something going through this right-left section? Nice and fast all over the back bumper. He's used the slipstream down the front straightaway. What can Bueller do as we head down to 3?
Still no looks being made. Ryan Verhulst has had problems on the racetrack. Justin Hall has been forced to the pit road, and in fact, Justin Hall may have come to pit road all by himself. And this is Verhulst right behind Freed, and, well, he lost that all by himself in the middle of the Vale chicane.
It was a weird one. That one just came around on him all of a sudden. Instant snap. For Ryan Verhulst, makes me think maybe he downshifted one too many times in the middle of the corner. But unfortunate for him, going to lose a good chunk of spots. A lot of seconds left on the board there. But side by side here, Josh Freed, Brooks Clayton fighting each other. This is for the 16th place spot. Or sorry, 15th place. Clayton's got it. And he's got a long line of cars here queued up, just trying to maximize their day, try to get as many points as possible. Give themselves an opportunity to finish as high up the grid as they think they can. Right now, that's 15th. And Josh Freed, he's looking for it down to the inside of Clayton, trying to take that spot away from him. And he does it pretty quickly, easily through to the spot. Gets clear of it quickly. And now Clayton on the back foot once again. McClendon is all over the back bumper.
How about that for a huge lunge from Brooks Clayton up into Cops, able to make a dive, and now Josh Freed cutting back at him, trying to see if he can't go back and try to take that spot away once again. All the way coming down through Maggots, now up through Beckett's. Freed, Clayton, McClendon, and Bright all under a giant line, and now Alexander Bueller coming to pit road. Bueller good to go the distance. Just 6 laps, 3 laps left, and he couldn't make it to the end.
He was faking us out. What in the world is that, Bueller? 6.5 minutes. Where was that pit stop an hour and a half ago? I mean, I can't believe he was still out here.
Clayton and Freed still the main duo side by side right now on the racetrack with 6 minutes on the docket here. Light continuing to fade, and right now, well, you can definitely tell there'd be headlights on by now over the racetrack. Visibility starting to, I think, flicker a little bit, but for now, we're still looking safe and sound. Oh, Freed gets into the side of Clayton, forces him out wide, but McClendon in the mix, being forced to back out.
These guys all battling tough for the 15th place spot. Clayton hanging on to it, but man, they are all racing tight behind. McClendon has been losing out positions. Chris Bright as well. They were towards the front of this pack. They've lost out. Wolf has gotten up there, putting himself in position. Freed now fighting for it. Man, still punting each other. Hall getting to the inside of Ron Wolf, trying to take the spot away. That's for 18th. As they come through, back towards the front. Just behind Austin Tucker, looking at Eric Cronenberg running in 7th. Through Maggots and Beckett's. Crawford, his lead, kind of stagnating at 9/10 of a second behind, or in front of Kyle Blevins. Chris Flam's right behind him. So those two could get themselves back into it, but they got to work together. They can't be fighting each other, even in the tighter sections of the racetrack. Flams has to be a little bit more patient. Just try to get Blevins up there. That's their only chance they can get up to Crawford in the last 4.5 minutes. Give themselves a chance, because it looks like we're coming up to 2 laps to go.
4 minutes and 15 seconds are on the docket. 8.5 of a second for the time being, with 4 minutes left out here on the clock. Just 2 laps left to go now, as this pack fights its way up and around. Crawford trying to see if he can hang on with 8.5 now back up to 9 between himself and Kyle Blevins, the man that took his first pull and trying to go for his first beer league win.
Blevins is pushing. I mean, he is giving it everything he's got. I can just see he's pushing a little too hard. The nose is just not settled in some of these corners. He's not letting it kind of rotate on its own. He's really fighting the car through the corner, fighting the nose. It's just naturally fighting to the outside of the racetrack, and he's just turning it back down, trying to hit the apex, giving it a lot of throttle pretty early. And it's just cost him a little bit of time. You can see he's wide again there through the exit, compromising his next corner. He's going to be narrow it down into the entry. Blevins, he's got the pace, but I think he's just driving a little too hard at this point.
His other problem is he's got Chris Flams that seems to be more concerned about fighting with him as opposed to helping him get up to fight with Crawford. I mean, Flams did try to make a look for position, and that has cost them big time. They need to be working together if they want to be catching Crawford for the end of this race. It is doable, but they cannot afford to fight with each other if they want to get the job done.
Some points of the racetrack they do good, and the main point here, they've caught him a little bit. It's down to 7/10. If they have a good Maggots and Beckett's, if they can catch Crawford through here, that is their big selling point. They cut into the draft, or cut into the amount of space that the draft has to help them, I should say, and they've cut it down again, another 1/2 tenth, down to 6/10. They got the draft down the hanger straight. That's going to bleed down into the 4/10 range, I got to think, especially with them lined up, coming down to the longest straightaway. So Blevins, Flams, they're getting themselves into it. They've halved the deficit on this lap.
I think Flams just realized he has a chance to win this race if he helps Austin Tucker, because look at how he pushed him down the straight, and now all of a sudden they're down to just 1/2 second between the two. 2 minutes on the clock. It'll be the white flag waving this time by as they cross over the start-finish line. Alex Crawford out in front for now, but the fight for the lead is on with 1 lap to go.
Blevins had a moment coming out of that set of corners, got a little twitchy, got a little loose, cost him a bit of time, but coming down the front straightaway, got a boost from Flams, and man, Flams really gave up a lot of time entering the corner. Blevins maybe overdriving turn 1 just a little bit, compromising that line through 2, not really gaining too much time, even though he's actually probably pushing more speed than Crawford in front of him, just not running a good enough line. Can he keep it close enough to where he can use the draft at the end of the lap to give himself a chance? That's all he's got to do. Keep this within 0.5 seconds. It's up to 6 right now. Just have a better second half of the lap than Crawford and give yourself an opportunity.
0.6 seconds. The gap still coming down. Alex Crawford struggling to try to hang on. Now back down to 0.5 second. Flams not making the move this time into Brooklands. Does Crawford have what it takes to hang on? It's down to 4. 3.5. 50 seconds are on the clock. We are still working that last lap. And now Crawford under some heavy pressure.
That was the second sector that Kyle Blevins needed so desperately. Caught him by 1/10.5 just through that set of corners and in the draft firmly. Just getting a little bit more. We're not even to the end of the second sector, and he's getting even more out of it. Down to 3.5 tenths before we even get down to the S's. Out of cops for the final time. What's it going to be, Blevins? Where are you going to make your move? Can you have a good enough S's to do it?
1/4 second. Crawford started to extend the gap, but Blevins immediately fighting back to try to get things right in through Beckett's for the final time today. The gap back up to 4, down to 3.5. It fluctuates so much. 0.3 seconds, down to 1/4 second. Blevins can taste his first beer league victory, and boy, would it ever taste so good to beat one of the best to get it done. Crawford goes defensive. Flams trying to make it 3 wide, not going to get it in. Blevins round the outside, but Flams holds the bottom. Flams takes up the number 2 spot. Can Crawford try to get the job done? They're still side by side for second place, and I think with Flams getting greedy, that's going to spell it into the battle. Oh no! Blevins drops it in the final hairpin! And with that, Crawford hangs on to win after Flams got too greedy and stole second place, costing himself a chance at the win as a result. Kasich picks up 3rd, and Blevins, a heartbreak of a finish, still down and out and still hunting for his first podium entering week number 4.
Oh, heartbreak there for Blevins, not even on the podium. Only loses 1 spot, so not too terrible, but gets the
it's gonna stay.
Podium stolen by Kasich. And yeah, Flams helps him down a little bit further into that corner, maybe gets him side by side. You give yourself a chance getting out of the corner, so maybe Flams could have backed off a little bit and or helped Blevins, but I don't know. It's just kind of, you're in the heat of the moment. The scenario pops up and you make your decision right at the heat of the moment, and Flams made his decision. I think the move was maybe a little bit too early coming from 3rd, and knowing Crawford was already down there covering the inside, you knew you weren't going to be able to make the move on the inside. But either way, it played out the way it played out, and Alex Crawford is your race winner, and unfortunately, Blevins not on the podium.
Tom Adol and Bob Kulikowski both having problems of the dying laps as well, as they had contact. Oh boy, the 35 just came careening in there. Boy, what a race though. I mean, that was a wild one from Silverstone. You still see cars coming across the start-finish line right as the sun finally fully dips below the horizon, signaling what would be a no doubt an end to racing action. And well, with that, I think we are about ready to take a rundown through the official post-race results here this afternoon. Just waiting on the final few cars to come across the line. I think Carson Catlin might be the last one fully. What a tough break. What could have been for Kyle Blevins, and you know he is going to be remembering that going forward about how that podium, how that win was taken from him this afternoon.
Yeah, I gotta imagine he's not happy. He did queue up on voice chat. I didn't get to see or hear what it was, but he did say something right after the incident. So typically, whenever that happens, it's out of frustration, not out of happiness. So I imagine Kyle's not in the happiest of moods right now. Unfortunately, we won't get a chance to talk to him, but we'll get an opportunity to talk to Chris here in a moment.
Before we get to all of that, it's the post-race results this afternoon, with Copper taking the win, Flam second, Kasich third, Blevins in fourth, Lee was fifth. Then it was Tucker, Ronenberg, Augustino, and Hannigan for the top 9. Tyler Carlton rounds out the top 10. Shane Cameron, Alexander Bueller, 11th and 12th, and it was Thacker, Clayton, McClendon, Hall, Bright, Wolf, Freed, and Hopkins with Dupree and Castro rounding out the top half of the field, Austin. And Austin, we may have just lost Austin, but John Combs, Darren By, Greg Beckman, Tom Adol, Corey Barrett, Jordan Babcock, Tyler Viet, and Adam Justin Mailhot bring it up for the top 30. Kyle Smith, Ryan Murphy, Tanner Klein, Ethan Condi, Evan Campbell, Ryan Verhoes, Carson Catlin, Bob Kulikowski, Blake Gamble, and Ben Willens for the top 40. And then closing out the field this afternoon, not finishing the race, was Purcell, Noyes, and Austin McColgan. Did not start racing action here this afternoon. So all of that is done and dusted, and we're going to get the chance now to jump back and take a chit-chat here with the drivers that have finished this race up on the podium. And, of course, we're looking to kick it off first and foremost with one Alex Crawford. Joins us up here at the broadcast booth, and Alex, no doubt you were sweating there when you saw those two cars coming at you down the hangar straight, but then, of course, you saw them go double file in the mirror, and then, well, what happened, and you're able to walk off the win this afternoon. Kind of talk us through the day for the first beer league race at Silverstone.
Yeah, first up, big props to Tyler Augusto for choosing this combination, and the weather and the lighting. It was fantastic. It was everything this car is great at, drafting and battling, and just like you can't break the draft, and so it's nonstop, left, right, center, three-way battles, and it's so great. But yeah, for the last part of the race, trying to give the draft to my teammate, to be honest, Blevins, and hope for the best that way, because I don't know, at some point when you're up front, I can kind of choose who I give the draft to, but I was kind of just watching them and trying to hit my points, because there's not much more I can do than that. So once we got into the hangar straight, I thought there might be close enough to make a dive. They weren't quite, or I'm sorry, they were if I didn't defend the inside. So I was just like, okay, all the way inside, make them go the long way. I got a good line, so they weren't able to pass. And then from there, just checked on turn-in where they were. And so I actually didn't even see the incident, because once I check on turn-in, I know that they're not close enough. I'm focused forward. And, comms got a little going there, but for my point of view, it was just cruise to the finish.
Kind of take us how the drive was this afternoon. Obviously, you just did a lot of talking about the final laps, but the daylight being a constant worry. I mean, these cars don't have the lights to work with. Was visibility ever going to be a concern later on in the race?
Visibility was a concern the whole race. Going down the hangar straight, the sun was blinding. And then once it set, obviously it got dark. And, if you're just not confident, it makes you double guess. So there's definitely some people in there that were complaining about not being able to see stuff, or they made a move because they weren't sure where they're at, this, that, the other. But for the most part, it was just enough to really see where you're going and not have an issue without the lights. If it went any farther, it would have been really difficult. So again, Tyler hit it perfect with the weather.
And well, we take a look now at how everything is going to be shaken on out when we do get out one final time. Well, not one final time, but I guess one more time to kick off November. How do you think things are going to be looking for you when we go down to race number 4 at what will be Circuit de Navarra?
Oh, that got spun, huh?
It did, yes.
Awesome. I think that's a fantastic track. There's going to be a lot of learning for it. That's going to be a difficult track for a lot of people. So, I hope that they're able to put in the practice, because it's definitely a track where if you, if you're able to hit the lines and stuff, it feels good and it's really fun. I really enjoy it. So it will be a good track for me.
Well, we'll wish you the best of luck then when we return to racing action. For now, congratulations on taking your race win today, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you, guys.
Alex Crawford takes home the top spot this afternoon, and with that, we'll move on down to the driver that steals the number 2 spot. It's Chris Flams standing by with Austin Edstrom.
Yeah, Chris, it was a heck of a night for you. You found yourself up at the front at the very end with a chance to win. What were you thinking coming out of the S's on that last lap, out of Maggots and Beckett's down the hanger straight? What were you thinking coming down there? What was running through your mind?
Well, I was really just trying to focus on what Crawford was doing. I was hoping he was going to stay right and we were going to go through wide, but he dove left, so I'm like, okay, the wind's out. And then it was trying to clear Blevins, but obviously that didn't happen. But it was a good run. I don't feel great today. I'm about an entire bottle of Robitussin Deep right now. So just keeping it together and still being able to see my computer screens is a major win.
well, if that's the case, then really good job finishing second, dude. that's a heck of a night coming home second if you're feeling that bad. But I'll keep this nice and simple and short and only ask you one more question if that's the case. Was there anything that you could have done different on that last lap? Is there anything looking back that you're like, man, I wish I would have done this?
Maybe we could have taken it 3 wide. I would have had to take the long way around that big sweeper. I'm sure it's got a name. I don't know what it is. But given I dove right at the exact same time Crawford dove right, and I couldn't have gotten back left. I didn't have room to squeeze up the middle. Wasn't worth trying to take everybody out. I was just, all right, well, second unless Crawford screws up, and not much I could have done, and had a really good, just casual race. I kind of sat behind people the whole time, was never really fighting for the lead. I think I got a lap led. I don't know. I wasn't really focused on it. It's like top threes win championships, so focus on that.
Well, Chris, it was a heck of a night for me tonight, especially if you're feeling ill. So congratulations on the second place. It was a great night for you, and looking forward to seeing if you can, kind of follow up the good run with another a good string of momentum.
Thank you. Thanks for the broadcast, guys.
All righty. Thank you, Chris. That was your second place finisher, Chris Flams, tonight. Nolan, I think you're going to be standing side by side with our third place guy, Jake Kasich.
It is, of course, a driver that is getting more and more familiar with the Green Flight TV broadcast booth with podium finishes. Jake, you were looking set for a 4th place finish this afternoon, but after 2nd and 3rd come together, you're able to just barely sweep through and pick off that 3rd place spot. Talk us through the afternoon.
Well, yeah, I gotta say, first of all, I apologies to Kyle, because that's just an unfortunate way for his race to end. But I think my pace was pretty solid today, and I was kind of feeling like I had a really good chance at getting a win. And ultimately, I had a slowdown sort of towards the back third of the race there that kind of messed me up quite a bit, and that dropped me down, back to 10th, and I was sitting in 4th, just hoping I could get a recovery, trying to save some fuel, make sure I could make it across the line. And, I was hoping that something would happen between P2 and P3, and it did. And, I couldn't wish for better, I got to say, in a sad way.
You, of course, have been having a pretty good outing so far with the Flying Donut Motorsports crew. Jumping over to their team with the draft, of course, for this season. You take a look at how the first 3 races have gone so far. Championship-wise, do you think you're back in the fight once again for the title?
I definitely think there's a chance. I really need to focus on being just more consistent race to race, because, I think like I've just been kind of hopping between sort of being in the top 10 or just being, nowhere the whole race. So kind of if I can get some good consistent finishes, I think it's definitely an option.
And of course, next week it is the Circuit de Navarra, another brand new track that the Beer League has never run at before, but it's known as the Speed Circuit for a reason, bound to be a very high-speed race when we go out to Spain. How do you think things are going to be going down for you at a brand new racetrack again?
Well, I've never run it, so we'll have to see after I've like kind of run the track. But the racing in these cars is just absolutely so much fun, and it's hard to beat. And I can't imagine there will be a bad race. And I think if I can just keep my head up and stay clean throughout the race, we'll be able to get a good finish. But I'm looking forward to it for sure.
All right, we'll see you next week then when we swing across the channel to Spain. Congratulations on taking third. We'll see you next week.
Thanks. Looking forward to it.
Jake Kasich takes up the number 3 spot here this afternoon. And Austin, what a race we had this afternoon. But next week, it's a hop across the English Channel to one of the leading motorsport facilities in all of Spain. It's going to be a fun ride. Circuit de Navarra, of course, added on to the iRacing service about 2 seasons ago, early this year. They were going through a lot of redevelopments throughout the past couple years, in fact, I believe. And they only just reopened their doors on September 8th of this very year. So that track just getting back underway in the real world, and now we get to see it for the first time in sim as well on Green Flag TV.
I'm looking forward to it. I look forward to it every single time we come out here for the Beer League. I mean, look, tonight, I said it before, or I said it in the pre-race, I talked it up pretty big. These guys with this race car, it's a match made in heaven. I'm telling you, the racing week in, week out has been phenomenal. This season, I'm loving it. I can't wait for next week.
Coming up on Green Flag TV, the SRA Mini Stock Series will be out at the Langley Speedway for the Langley Stock Racer 125 to close out the first half of things for round number 4 of 8 of the championship. And then on Monday night, the High Tide Racing League MF Racing Design's Premier Series swings out to the Lady in Black to see who can tame the track too tough to tame. It'll be Darlington Raceway for round number 8. The Ole Miss Rail Cup Series wraps up their championship coming up on Tuesday down at the Auto Club Speedway. And tucked in the middle of all of that, on Sunday afternoon at 4:15 p.m., it's the Classic IndyCar Series, but not with a season finale. It's Indy 500 Pole Day, going to be taking place over at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 2 hours full of qualifying is what we'll be covering in the total of a 4-hour session. We'll be looking to see you guys all out there as well. Bound to be an intense afternoon. But for now, that's all the time we're going to have for one day. For now, want to wish again congratulations to everybody that helped to bring this race to life. This was a wild one this afternoon, and there's still so much more to come. If you want to find out more about who we are, what we can offer you, check us out today at www.greenflagtv.com. We'll see you next week in Spain.